Well, Cabinet has approved the extension of the national state of disaster due to COVID-19, and the extension to be gazetted is now until October 15th. It says South Africa has administered more than 12.5 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines by Tuesday. Minister in the Presidency, Mondli Gungubele, gave some of the details on the outcomes of the Cabinet meeting a little earlier today. Minister, good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. It's the first time that we're actually speaking as you occupy the seat of being Minister in the Presidency. So congratulations to you for your appointment. I imagine that Cabinet still, coming to terms with the changes. What have things been like in light of those changes and what we know and perceive to be happening in the public space, and as far as that factionalism in the ANC is concerned?
Good evening, Kathy, and to your audience, and highly appreciate your congratulations. And I will request that I interact with you in my capacity as a minister, and stay away as much as possible from the ANC.
Yes, but I'm asking about the Cabinet meeting. How is the Cabinet meeting? Of course, it's unavoidable. Yeah, it's unavoidable that the question of the factionalism will come in, because that has very much been associated with the way in which Cabinet ministers do their jobs, and very much linked to the reshuffle that we saw recently. So how are things in Cabinet right now?
I have experienced a coherent, calm, peaceful and a productive Cabinet, very frank, interactive.
Let's talk about some of the issues that you would have been tasked with looking at, and not least among them being the July unrest. The President described it as an insurrection, and yet when we look at the statement that has been issued today, very brief comments from Cabinet in terms of the action that has been taken to pursue those who are instigators or were behind that insurrection. Tell us a little bit about those discussions that took place. Is Cabinet satisfied with the work that has been done so far?
With regard to what, Kevin?
With regard to the July unrest and the insurrection as it was described by the President.
No, as far as we are concerned, Kathy, things appear under control. We get briefings on regular basis. You remember on the 23rd of August, there was also rumor that something big was going to happen, and that got monitored and followed. It never materialized. And in the meantime, the duty of the police is to continue to look for those who were behind the mire, and others already in bars, others appearing before court. So far, there was nothing much to discuss about that in the Cabinet yesterday.
When I look at the arrests that the police have made, and again, I match it up against the language that has been used to describe that unrest, one would think that, number one, more arrests would have been made, but there would also be clearer information around the strategy, because government was very clear in its description of that violence, saying that it was coordinated violence and that the instigators behind it knew exactly what they were doing. Do you believe that those instigators have been arrested?
People have been arrested, Kathy. Investigations are still being undergone, even regarding those who are arrested. We have not come to full conclusion to the extent of who exactly are the main drivers. But those who are arrested, as far as I'm concerned, are those who are said to be part of those who are driving. What exactly the role each one of them has played, the truth is yet to come when all the investigations are concluded.
In terms of the work that is being done to investigate these matters, what is the role of state security, and has moving it under the office of the President made any difference in terms of those investigations?
It's too early to call, Kathy. That is not long ago since the President put the SSA in his under his office, we are getting briefings. One is not yet in a position to tell exactly what difference it has made, but we have no doubt now that is under the president. At least the president, it will be on the what we call a line of sight. It will ensure that the state of the security is on the president's line of sight. Yeah.
Minister, one of the things that has been of public interest in the past couple of weeks has been this issue around the SIU report that has been given to the president, and it relates to that Digital Vibes investigation. Why has the president not made it public?
If you check the statement that was issued yesterday, Kathy, it will say to you, the president ensured that made an undertaking which has been done that the notices to the third parties were actually dispatched. In other words, based on that statement, one will make an assumption that all the third parties do have the information, those who are actually affected, who also have a right to actually make their own stories in as far as the whole situation is concerned.
It's been sitting on the president's desk for about 2 months. Why has it taken so long for the president to act?
If you remember, SIU is doing this work where there are cases of criminal prosecution. There are institutions to which those are supposed to be referred. I don't know how you want the president to act, Kathy.
The SIU had said in its briefing to Parliament that it was already thinking of, it had already recommended action to be taken against some senior officials within the health department, but that they were waiting on the president to actually act on some of the recommendations. So to the extent that that report had been sitting there, and by and large, some of the recommendations in that report had not been implemented, it is a problem.
Until we deal with the specific, it's going to be difficult to answer a question. I must also bring to attention the fact that SIU has said it officially that the final report to the president, the final report is going to be given around the 30th of November. So, in other words, those are interim reports that they're speaking about.
Yes, but post
but
this
to come
process,
to the specific,
yep.
to come to the specific of what action was supposed to have been taken against who, I don't think I'm in a position to tell you that.
Okay, so as it stands, are you saying that what the report that the president makes public will only be after November, and that it won't be the report that he has now that will be made public?
I'm saying if the final report is coming by the end of November, it means the full story would have come by the end of November. What exactly is before the president now, I'm not in a position to make an informed comment.
So when the president says that they're seeking advice from the third parties before making a decision on whether to make the report public, which report are we talking about? The report that's on his desk now, or the one that you're talking about that will be ready in November?
I didn't understand it to be seeking advice as such. I understand it to be saying, I have received whatever report, whether you call it interim, the third-party notices. Third-party notice is about those people who are appearing in the report, who are entitled to access to that information so that they can make their own views. That's what I understand it to mean.
So at this point, there's no decision about whether this report will be made public?
I'm not in a position to make that statement now.
So you don't know yet?
Yes, yeah.
All right. We'll have to leave it there for tonight and move on to other news regarding the presidency. Minister Gungubele, let's talk about the issue around the president's former spokesperson, Kusela Diko. You would have seen many of the reports in the media this week as well, and the reaction that, you know, she was going to be reinstated to the presidency, but that was subsequently corrected, and the fact that she won't be returning to the presidency. Do you know where she's going?
It's difficult to answer that question. All what is clear and factual is that she's not going back to that position. She's at maternity at the moment, and awaiting her coming back. And the details of exactly where she's going to go, I expect them to be clear by that time.
The reports largely suggest that she's going to be a deputy director in GCIS. Can you confirm that for us?
Is it a report or a rumor?
I'm saying it's widely reported in different media that that's where she's going, and I'm asking you, can you confirm that for us as the minister in the presidency?
Remember, Kathy, Mr. Diko was a political appointee. And the political appointee is attached to the period of the principal. What does that mean? Whatever position that she is going to be taken to will be in the context of those legalities. DTG, I'm not sure if there is such a position there, but I don't have that aspect at the moment, or specifically where she's going to go.
But you can confirm that she's going to stay within the public service?
Yes.
Minister, just perhaps your reflections in terms of watching the reports, watching the different feedback and opinions expressed by South Africans on this matter relating to Kusela Diko. Do you believe that it has tainted President Cyril Ramaphosa's presidency in any way?
I don't know how it would have tainted the president, Kathy, because Ms. Diko is an adult who got appointed by the president, and allegations arose around Ms. Diko, and then certain processes were undertaken, and she was given a special leave, and then finally, at our disposal, no evidence of corruption has been found against her, other than the fact that in communication with the department, with the institution, it was found that she did not disclose. And that is viewed as a misdemeanor, but a misdemeanor which is a subject of progressive corrective measures. Amongst others, the one she is facing now, a written, what we call a warning.
In as far as that written warning is concerned, because it came out of her not disclosing her interest in certain companies, what do we know about these companies? Have these companies been doing work with the state? Have they put in any bids for work with the state since her time in the presidency? Do you have answers to those questions?
I get those details should be in the purview of the SIU, Kathy.
But surely the presidency would also be in charge of that kind of investigate of those details as well.
What detail the president has, I will not be sure, but all I know, SIU was tasked by the president to look at those matters. But I've already said to you, so far, in all the findings that are at our disposal, Ms. Diko, nothing of corruption, no evidence of corruption has been found against her. And I'm saying, outside that, the institution was able to show her that she was not able to disclose, based on that being a misdemeanor, a sanction of a written warning.
So I think I'm speaking more to the internal investigation that was conducted that ultimately found her guilty of not disclosing these interests. So what I really want to know is, of those companies and the directorships, I believe it was, that she has resigned from, what do we know about those companies and whether or not they have done any work with the state since she took her position as the president's spokesperson?
To the extent that it concerns Ms. Diko, we do not have such evidence at the moment.
All right. So as it stands, no such evidence to that effect?
Not on the basis of the information at our disposal.
Of course, we also have a very concerning situation that is arising in the country around the state of whistleblowers, particularly those who are in the public service and are speaking out against the wrongdoing that they are seeing. And the outcry has really been largely around whether or not whistleblowers are supported and even protected by the state. What did Cabinet have to say about that?
The principle of the protection of whistleblowers remains non-negotiable, because it is one of those principles that have been a critical pillar in fighting against crime. So, but I thought when this question is raised, I also want to take the public to this conversation that whenever we are talking about a whistleblower, we should have a sense of who are we talking about. A whistleblower necessarily is somebody who press a button to make an alarm, to draw attention to a misnomer or a behavior which is not acceptable, be it corruption and so on. And it's not a homogeneous bunch of people. There are those who would immediately not be prepared to blow that whistle in the glare or in the public, who would want protection. There are those who would simply make that blow, not actually call even for protection. Again, there are those witnesses who, because of their position, if there's an investigation, they are called upon to give evidence. Others cooperate, others don't cooperate. In that instance, if, for instance, the witness has been threatened, it becomes the duty of the witness to call the attention of the police. But if the witness has not advised the police that I'm under threat, it becomes something else. Because as I'm talking to you now, thousands of witnesses are giving evidence in various investigations. It actually becomes the duty of the witness if you feel under threat, especially the witness who hasn't said from the beginning, please, I need to be protected and I want to actually expose this information. I thought it's important sometimes to share that, because an assumption is made that everyone who is a witness is automatically a whistleblower who must go for protection.
Minister in the Presidency, Mondli Gungubele, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thanks for your time. Thanks your viewers. Thanks, Kathy.
All right.